to pass on to those that attended today, but also anyone that was unable to attend, so that they can use this for future reference. So welcome, thank you very much for joining today. It's very exciting to have you guys here. You're a selected crew that we'd like to address some of the private stuff and the changes that we're making with on TourRadar for the private product. So you've all worked with TourRadar for quite some time, so you'll be very aware that we are the market leaders when it comes to multi-day tours, but that was generally focusing on group tours. With the change to the current climate, and we're still sitting around talking about lockdowns, the request for private tours has grown substantially. We always did have some private tours on our website, but we did mostly focus on that group departure stuff. Obviously, we are now knees deep working through all of the different product things that we can be adding to assist you in streamlining offering private tours out to the general market. So today, just to run through a little bit of housekeeping, if my slide wants to turn. Alrighty, so a brief introduction for those of you that weren't on the call when I spurted it out before, but on the call we have Georgia. Georgia is based in the Brisbane office with myself, and she's part of the business support team, and then we've got Taylor, who is part of the customer support team. I'm a BDM, I look after a fair few of the accounts online today, but also I am heading up the private project alongside Taylor and the CS team and many others in other departments of TourRadar. So just some Google Meets 101. I know that we're all quite familiar with using online platforms for meetings these days, but please remain muted throughout the duration of this call. Unfortunately, we might not be able to take any questions as we have a bit of content to cover off. If you do have any questions, please use that chat function that we were just communicating in earlier. Georgia is our note taker today. She's going to be clearing out all of those questions. And if we do have time, we'll address those at the end. If we don't, what we will do is answer those in great detail and then send those over to you in a wrap-up alongside with the recording of this and any supporting training documents that will help you perfect your private product. So first off, I thought I might start with understanding the customer journey. So how do passengers find you on TourRadar? A lot of passengers reach the TourRadar website via Google. We have very strong SEO results, ads, banners for our digital remarketing, and also Facebook and socials. When the passenger then searches on TourRadar website, they use all sorts of filters to define what their ideal tour looks like. And this is when they'll find your tour. When the passenger reads your tour details page and when they like what they see, they ask a question or send a booking request, which will create those booking conversation pages, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. An important thing to note is that we don't hide your brand, we promote it and we expose it. So anything that you do on the website is just really reinforcing your own brand. So just to show you how that customer journey may look, when they come to the TourRadar website, you'll see we actually have dedicated landing pages per continent. So for at the moment in Australia, we're focusing on Australia domestic. That's why you can see some beautiful Australian scenery in the background. So when a passenger comes here, they'll search continents, destinations, travel styles or deals. In this example, they are searching for Asia, and then they can go through and select their dates. When we head to this next page here, this is what we call a content landing page. On the content landing page, this is where the passenger will filter down very specifically the tour that meets their needs. So in this example, they use the filters to select tours that depart in March 2022. The duration is 1 to 12 days. The tour type is private and the traveler is a tour or more. So this is what you can see sped out the results on this occasion, and things that you will be able to see on this page and will help passengers decide on which tours they're going to click on and read through is things such as their travel styles, reviews, course deals, who doesn't like a deal, especially at the moment, and many of the other like languages and destinations and things like that, and flexible booking. So that's something that we can talk about in the wrap-up email, but offering forward flexibility so that passengers feel confident that if they're unable to travel due to current climate, that the operator is willing to make any changes required. When they've come on and they've decided on a tour that they like, This is what the original landing page looks like, and this is what we call a tour details page. So a tour details page is what you have loaded all of the information about your tour into the operator dashboard, and then we display this to the passenger. Here you can see that there is actually 4 ways that a passenger can reach out communication-wise. And I just want to clarify for you that here, the contact us at the top right hand of the page, and also the need help. So the contact us will provide a phone number that comes directly through the TourRadar team, and we field any questions that that passenger may have. The other one is the need help button down there on the bottom right hand. That is a live chat function. So that opens a function, a chat bot that will go through to our CS team, and they will help the passenger answer any questions that they may have. The idea is that we want to field any of those silly questions that might be easily readable on your tour details page, but they just haven't managed to find it yet. If we're unable to find it, the information, or it gets to the point that the passenger is ready to book that tour, that's when they'll come through to you on the ask the question buttons here. So realistically, the more content you load, the more we can help you, and the stronger the lead will be once they come through to those booking pages. So as previously discussed, when they are ready to book a tour, they will book the book now for the truly private tours, or they will go through a private questionnaire that some of you will have probably received, where they may be requesting to change items within the itinerary or accommodation, or add child prices. Taylor in the customer service team, who is on the call, is going to go into further detail of the survey or the questionnaire with you later. So for now, I just want to dive in to how we can secure yourself some strong leads. So realistically, the easiest way to convert is with clear content. First off, I thought it would be a good exercise to define what we are talking about when we have the 2 different private options. So as previously discussed, TourRadar was always a space for group tours. So we are working day and night to try and surface the private tours differently. So at the moment, we've got 2 versions: truly private tours. Now, these are tours that are just off the shelf. They're already running as private with no other guests. These are generally instantly bookable, and have customization options, and typically run with smaller groups of, say, 2 to 4 passengers. Then we have the optional private tours. We see these as tours that were originally group tours that do have the capability of being booked privately, but they are usually run for bigger groups of that 4 and over, and are generally a little bit harder to customize. So how do you define your tour as either truly private or optionally private? In the operator dashboard, what you'll want to do is log in and have a look at that details page, that very first page on your tour. On that, if it is a truly private tour, your group type will be private, guide type, whatever the guide type is for that particular tour, and then set your minimum group number there. If it is an optional private tour, then you would list that as a group tour, whatever guide type is applicable, and then select the little toggle down there that says that the tour can be run privately. In both these instances, once private is selected, you will be requested to fill in the information for the minimum private group size. We'll go into more detail about that with this slide here, outlining the pricing. So pricing is something that we're working on, and very shortly we will have the capability to list tiered pricing, group pricing, and customization in a much clearer way. As it stands, if your private pricing is based off a per person rate, you must ensure that the minimum passenger number listed is set correctly. For example, if your tour costs $4,000 to operate and the cost per person is $1,000, then the minimum passenger number should be 4. Even if you're like, yeah, I'll happily take 1 person, they've just got to pay $4,000. It's better to set that expectation with passengers that they must book for 4 people so that they understand the cost involved. If your tour is private and is not necessarily a group tour, but is truly private and you can run it off a per person rate, or it is tiered depending on your minimum passenger numbers. There is a workaround that we can work on currently until the tiered pricing is implemented. I will send this to you in the wrap-up email, as it is quite detailed, and we will be actually running some follow-up calls with all of the operators on this call to help you perfect that content. So we will have some one-on-one time where we can work through your pricing and load it correctly. Something that I really want to clarify with everyone today is just how important clear content is for conversion. The tours that we are seeing at the moment that convert are those that have ample information. So the information that we are seeing that passengers are requesting, accommodation varieties. You know, with a private tour, there's probably the opportunity to upgrade to 5-star, or there might be different room configurations, or how you might even have different hotels of the same standard but offer it to them anyway. So you can list all of this information in the what's included section, so that when a passenger reads through it, they are confident that they are going to be able to select something that suits them. Another one is transport type. A few of the passengers will come through and query what size vehicle they might be traveling in. This might be because someone is incredibly tall and needs some extra leg room, or one of the relatives packs way too much and they need some extra boot space. So this is another thing that we find gives those passengers the confidence to book. And another one as well is optional extras. So obviously with private tours, people like a bit of variety. So if you've got activities that you do in particular destinations, and say you may have 3 or 4, start listing those. Get them thinking about that before they're even arriving, so that you don't have to do that groundwork later. So this is an example of what a private tour is currently listed on our website, and this is the only information listed. And then I put to you, would you feel confident enough with this information to book a tour? I don't think so. So what we really, really want is for everyone to have a look at their tours, their tour listing, and, you know, this is your elevator pitch. This is your moment to really excite those operators and help us help you. The more information that you have on your tours, the less dead questions and dead leads you'll get, and the more information that you've got when a passenger picks up the phone and calls us or sends us a live chat, we can answer that for you, instead of us opening a conversation with you and then eventually the lead dying because the information was not what they wanted to hear. Then I have another example of some beautiful content. So we can see here accommodation broken down into the different standards that they could receive, details on the guide, details on the hygiene measures that they're taking with the current climate with COVID, any of the additional services that they have, the transport, and then of course the what's not included. That's almost as important as the what's included. So the more information that you can give us and the passenger, the better for conversion. You'll see here people start getting really excited about booking this, and now they're definitely going to want to book it when they can read all of that information there right at their fingertips. Another thing to note is that we're here to support you 24/7. We're not the best to sell your tours, because, you know, Georgia and I are here based in Brisbane. Unfortunately, I haven't been lucky enough to visit Egypt. You guys are the ones that can sell your tour way better than what we can, but we are here to support you. So if you ever need any help, the business support team are available 24/7, and there's a few different ways that you can contact them. There's the Notify TourRadar button, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. You can access via the BCP. We have just released some new features here, so you can actually really get down to the nitty and gritty and define what it is that you need our assistance on. We've also released our new TourRadar Help Finder, a very exciting live bot that will, if you type in some keywords there, it will supply you with some articles that will assist you in your current situation. And then our help center, new and improved, so you can also search in there. I'm now going to hand over to Taylor, who is our customer support team, and he's going to run through the other side of the private product offering. Taylor,
perfect. Thanks, Danielle. Okay, so for the next section, we're going to go over how to use the price calculator, why it's important for quoting a private tour, and how to push that sale after we have set up the quote. So before an inquiry does ever arrive on your operator dashboard or to your BCP, it's important to understand that journey the customer has taken and how that quote got there in the first place. So on every tour details page that can be run privately, they will see this blue icon and they can now go ahead and request a private quote. After they've gone through the survey and the questionnaire, which will be explained in the next slide, you'll receive this quote request on your operator dash and your BCP. It will look similar to this automated message here. And for the next slide, we're going to play a demonstration of the customer placing their quote request, going through the survey, and then how you, the operator, can set up the quote using the price calculator, and also how the customer can accept, change, or decline your quote.
To know how that request. So once the customer finds the tour they like, they can then go ahead and request as private. It's then going to open up a text box for them to input a bit of information. It will tell them the minimum number of travelers that this tour can be run privately. And it's then going to ask them just for a bit of information. So their name, their email address, the phone number section is optional, their month of travel, how many adults they have in their group, and how many children. They can then put any requests, any upgrades, any customizations that they would want to make to your tour. They can put in this text box here. So these guys want a 5-star accommodation upgrade. They might arrive one day early. So they'd like a pre-night hotel quote. Once they click request private tour, it's then going to bring them to a 6-step survey just to try to enlist as much information as possible from the customer before setting up their quote. So will they be celebrating a special occasion during this trip? This is going to be a family of 10 and it will be a family reunion. It's going to ask them for their travel dates. They can be very specific or they can be a little bit more broad with their travel dates. So these guys can travel anytime in September. So are they flexible with their travel dates? Yes. They have 4 children. We just need to know how old those children are. And it's going to ask them for their budget. They can give us a total budget for the whole group, or they can give us a per person budget. So these guys are willing to spend about $25,000 for the whole group. It's going to ask them if they want to customize or personalize any aspects of the itinerary or the tour. They did mention they would prefer 5-star hotels. They're also wanting a pre-night hotel quote. They could put in they want triple rooms here. They could change the itinerary altogether, add a couple days on the start or the end, or any transportation aspects they might want to change. Last question just asks them how soon are they planning to book this trip. So you might triage the travelers who want to book within 7 days over the ones just looking for information. These guys are willing to book within the next 30 days. Once the customer submits their request, it's going to send them an email just telling them their request has been received, and the next step is for them to receive a quote from you, the operator. You're going to go to your operator dashboard and you're going to retrieve that BCP from the private section, and you're going to open the BCP, and this would be your operator view of the BCP here. There's always going to be this little tips and tricks step for any private tour request. It just tells you to read the customer's message, update the price calculator, choose an expiry date for your quote, send them a message. And if you ever need any more help, you can always visit our help center. But the first thing you're going to do is read all the customer's information that they've given us. So this is a family reunion. They can travel anytime in September. There's 4 children aged 8 to 11 years old. They have a budget of around $25,000. They would like 5-star hotels, and they're looking for a pre-tour accommodation quote. These guys will book within the next 30 days, potentially. So after we've reviewed all their information, we can then go up and start creating their quote. We're going to click on Create Quote. This is the price calculator, and for a private tour, you can customize or edit almost everything in here as compared to a regular scheduled group where there's not that many customization options in the price calculator. So the first thing you can edit if you'd like is the title. You can just leave it the same if you'd like, but if you want to personalize it a little bit, let's say this is the Johnson family. We can call this the Johnson Family Vacation. We can then edit the start and the end date. So they mentioned they want to travel in September. They didn't give us specific dates. We can just give them an open quote sometime in September. We'll just choose the 5th to the 12th for now. We could update the starting and the ending city if they requested that. They didn't request any customizations to the itinerary, so we'd likely just leave that for now. Keep in mind, this is set for 6 travelers, but they do have 4 children as well. So we need to increase that to a total of 10 travelers. And then we need to go down to update the price. So whatever the price is for the private quote, you're going to update that in here. Let's say this one's going to be $3,000 per person. Automatically updates the price times 10 to give you the new subtotal. They do have 4 children, so if you do offer child discounts, you can input those discounts here. So you simply add item, open the drop-down menu, and we're going to choose this as a discount. Okay, the discount is, of course, completely up to you, but we're going to take off $250 per child. This will always be set to the total number of travelers on the booking, but since there's only 4 children, we need to change that to 4. Always put the discount in as a negative number, and it will automatically deduct the total. The next thing they wanted to do was add a 5-star accommodation upgrade. So again, add item, drop-down menu to accommodation, 5-star accommodation. However much that 5-star accommodation costs, we can put that in here as well. Let's say $200 per person, and that's going to be for everyone on the booking. They also wanted a pre-tour accommodation quote. So same thing, add item, go to the drop-down menu. We have pre and post accommodation. We're going to call this one pre-tour accommodation. And they're going to be arriving 1 day early, so that means they would arrive on September 5th. Sorry, September 4th. They'd be checking out on the 5th. Starting city would remain the same unless they're customizing the itinerary, and however much that hotel costs, we would input that here for all the travelers. Okay, so the quote's now being set up. There's one section here, TR savings and cost. This is for TourRadar agents only. We might input a promo code of from ourselves to take off of our own commission. Some of our travelers have travel credits as well that they can also apply as a discount, but that's not going to be accessible by any operator agents. So we'll give you the subtotal down here. The last step is to choose how long the quote is going to be valid for. You can choose 7, 14, or 21 days, or you can choose no limit as well. We're going to set this one for 7 days. So this whole quote is now set up. We've added the child discount, the 5-star accommodation, and the pre-tour hotel. Once we click send quote, it does send it directly to the customer. They'll get a notification on their booking page as well as an email telling them their quote is ready. So before we do click send quote, just make sure everything is accurate because it notifies them straight away. Okay, so before a private quote request reaches your operator dashboard, it's important to know how that request got there. So once the customer finds the tour they like, they can then go ahead and request as private. So I'm going to open up a text box for them to input a bit of information.
You
Restarted
again. There, Danielle.
Well, we just heard the beginning that we missed because I was muted.
Sorry about that, guys. So after the quote has been set up, you've sent it to the customer. It's important to know why it's so crucial to actually use that price calculator there. On the left here is a snapshot of a private BCP that has not been set up with a date or a price, and the customer is actually physically unable to book that tour. All they can do is view the tour on the website, or they can go ahead and book it as a non-private tour, but it's unable to be booked because there's no date or price set. On the right-hand side, it's all been set up. The quote's been sent to the customer. We can see the starting and the ending date and the total price, and they now have 2 options. They can either book the tour now, or they can decline the tour. If they click that decline button, they have 2 options in there. They can either simply request a change. It might be a change to the itinerary. It might be a change to the quote, asking for more discount, extra accommodation, whatever that is, and they'll send that change to you. It leaves the quote valid. Their other option is to just decline the quote if they're not interested anymore, and it will just cancel off the quote. So after we have sent that initial quote, we've updated the price calculator correctly. We're still not done yet. So keep in mind, a lot of these people who are reaching out, especially for private or custom tours, they have reached out to multiple operators, multiple agencies and multiple companies, and they likely have a few quotes on the go that are being sent to them. And it's generally the people who provide the best service, the most attention, and of course, the most attractive tour and the price will usually get that sale in the end. We have a lot of templates loaded in for you guys on your operator BCPs. We have initial quote templates and a lot of follow-up templates. And these tend to use open-ended questions just to try to enlist a response from the customer and keep them engaged. We generally send these 3 to 4 days after the initial quote. And as always, feel free to let Danielle or the team know if you guys have any templates that you prefer to use or that you use on a regular basis. We can always get those loaded in for you. And if you have finally quoted the customer, you've sent 1 to 2 follow-ups, it's been a week or 2, you're not really hearing back, always send one final message. Again, there's another template in here for that. Many times we've had customers return weeks, sometimes even months later, especially during these COVID times, letting us know that they are finally ready to start the booking process again. We don't ever consider a lead completely dead. Don't be afraid to offer, one last discount or at least one last message to let them know you're still there to help in the future.
Nice, thank you, Taylor. Alrighty, so as I said, we would take some Q&As at the end. I have noticed that none have come, and there were a few that were sent through, so I'll address those now. And then if you have any now is the time to send them through in the chat function. Georgia will collect those questions, and then we will send it in the wrap-up email so that everyone's questions are answered. But first off, we had 5 questions that came through prior to the training this evening. The first one is, can I discount my private tours? Heck yeah, you can. So obviously in the current climate that we're in, everyone's after a deal. Everyone has been impacted by COVID in some way or another. And so if you do have the capability to offer any discounts on private, please feel free to do so in the same way you usually would by loading a promotion through the operator dashboard. If you are on a feed, that can come through live, but also if you require any assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out to your BDM who will be able to guide you through that. Should I add FAQs? Again, yes, please. As we discussed, the more content that you have, the higher the conversion rate is. So if it starts to get to the point that you have several frequently asked questions on a particular tour, please feel free to send those through to us. Send them through to your BDM or through to the BDMs at TourRadar.com inbox, and we will get those uploaded onto your tour details page for you. How do I edit BCP for truly private tours? So what Taylor ran you through previously was when a tour is listed as a group tour and then someone requests it as a private. When they do that, they go through and complete that survey, that questionnaire that you saw, and then your tour has the capability to edit the start, end dates, duration, all those other great things that Taylor mentioned. If a passenger is looking to customize a private tour off the shelf, please use the Notify TR Agent button. We will make a change in the back end for the BCP, and then that will enable all of the cool functions for you to be able to edit it. How do I add my private pricing in the operator dashboard? So again, it is a little bit complicated at the moment. We are working really hard on implementing tiered pricing and other pricing structures. But what we will do post this in the wrap-up email is send you some details on how you can load those tiered pricing. And as I said, we will be setting up individual calls with operators to guide you through this process and ensure that all of your content is spick and span. And how can I make the most of the current trends for private touring? Again, pretty much everything we discussed in this training seminar tonight. If you've got really clean content that inspires passengers to book and then you use the tours available to you, we have been seeing some great conversions on private tours. So as long as the content is in place and you use the pricing calculator as advised, I don't think that you should be running into any issues at this stage with your conversions. Still haven't seen any questions come through, so that's cool. if people have got 5 minutes now and you do want to ask something, please just use the raise hand function and then we can ask. Otherwise, we can say good night or good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, and we will send you a beautiful wrap-up email with all of the details.
Thanks, guys. That was really good.
Thanks, Ben. Alrighty, guys. Seems like no questions, which makes me feel like we've done a good job today. Please keep an eye out on your inbox. We will be sending through the information that we addressed this evening, and stay on the line, stay focused and excited, because we will be running some more of these seminars that will be a little bit more detailed in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Go have another coffee, Taylor.
Yeah.
Bye, Dominic. Bye. Just gonna say, waving like royalty. Oh, can you start?
All right.
Hang on, let me just